I can't believe it, but the theater's done. The last theater that I did took me almost 8 years to finish. This one I finished in about 3.5, 4 months. There's been a lot of planning involved, let's just put it that way. I've been thinking about this theater for years, to be honest, ever since we decided to build this new house. And the fact that I would be allotted a new theater space in the new house, you know, it allowed me to build my dream theater, to be honest. And it is probably the best theater I'm ever going to have in my life. I can't imagine having a better theater than this one. It is my dream come true, to be honest. And you can say that I'm blessed. You can say that I just appreciate the fact that I'm just so happy that I'm able to pull this off. And to be honest, I was able to do this. Yes, a lot of money was spent on this room, but I think I did make some really good value-oriented decisions to keep my build as low as possible. Obviously, there are limits. Everybody has their limits. Some people don't have limits, but I definitely have limits as far as how much money I could spend on this room. And I think the choices that I made were very good. If you haven't been following the channel, I used some of my old speakers that I already own. That saved a little bit of money. I bought refurbished speakers. I bought refurbished equipment whenever I could. I even bought stuff on eBay, you know, secondhand, including my projector, my video distribution unit, which is a Lona. It allows me to send video anywhere in my house, anywhere where there's a TV on the Control 4 network. You know, I bought that on eBay. I took a chance and it worked out. I did make certain decisions that were to keep the cost of this build down. A lot of things cost a lot of money. You know, making this room as soundproof as possible. I'd say over $10,000 was spent on just soundproofing this room. We double drywalled the walls. I put like carpet glue in between the slices of drywall. The most beneficial thing was just buying a soundproof door, because sound is just going to leak out from wherever it can get out. And soundproof door is absolutely crucial. I spent, that alone was over $5,000, but worth every penny. I joke that I would have paid more because it allows me to use the theater at all times of the day, even in late at night. I can play movies pretty loud without getting the dreaded lower the volume text from my wife or from one of my kids complaining. That I used to get that literally every time I'd watch a movie almost in my old theater. I would get that text because I did not think about these things when I first started out. So yeah, soundproofing was crucial. And if you look around me, this room is completely treated now. And I'm probably going to make a whole video about just the treatments that I did in this room. And to be honest, I did not seek any advice. The only advice that I got, and I really have to shout out Anthony Grimani from Grimani Systems. I just watched the Audioholics podcast or you know, their show where he was on it. Like, I watched it 2 or 3 times. I watched everything that he could say. I trust him. I'm going to go with his recommendations, and I sort of did that. And I'll probably put up an image. I'll put up the image that I used as sort of a blueprint of how I designed the acoustic treatments in this room. Does it sound really good? It sounds amazing. It's actually really good to record video in here. That's why I do a lot of video in my theater room, because it's treated and there's very little reverberation, and it's a good room for recording. But anyway, gonna do another video on just this, on the treatments alone. Should be an interesting watch, so get subscribed if you want to learn a little more about my treatments. I'm just going to go around and show you the room at a sort of a high level, and you know, given the interest in that, I'll gauge, see how interested you guys are in this video, and then sort of see like the areas that I should just go in and make a more detailed video on, like my projector screen, for instance, or my equipment racks that are in my closet back there. And obviously I can talk about speakers, I can talk about wiring. I'm sort of been through it all, and this is the second time I've done this, and I think this is the definitive theater in my life. Honestly, I think it's all downhill from here. To be honest, I don't think I would ever make a bigger theater than this one. And if I did, I'd probably almost do the same thing. I maybe change a few things here and there. I'm very happy with the result of this theater. So let's walk around the room and check it out. So where do we start? So let's start with the screen. So we got, this is an Elite Screens 165-inch screen. It doesn't look very big in the video. It is absolutely enormous. Biggest 16 by 9 screen that I could fit in here. And see, I'm backing up right now, and it is taking up most of the wall space. And mind you that this front wall is 21 feet wide by 10 feet tall. So this is the kind of wall you need to accommodate a 165-inch 16 by 9 screen. It is absolutely huge. So why did I go with 16 by 9? I actually want to make another video about that, and specifically talk about why I decided to go 16 by 9 as opposed to like a scope screen, a wide screen. Number one, got tower speakers. I wanted to continue using the tower speakers. Obviously, the scope screen would not allow me to use these anymore, so obviously I wanted to keep them. So there's reason number one. Reason number two, scope screens are kind of a pain in the butt. If you're watching 16 by 9 content, you know, you're just gonna have black borders on the side of the screen there. That is not optimal for me. Reason number three, this screen is big enough that I actually went on Display Wars, and you can actually see that since the screen is so big and it's 16 by 9, I still get about 158-inch scope screen. To do a scope screen right, you really have to get a Panamorph, one of these, like, you have to get a special scope lens for your projector, which is, mine is up there, and to get it to work right. You know, and those lenses alone cost $5,000 or $6,000. And it's an added layer of complexity. When you're watching movies that switch from aspect ratios over, like in like an IMAX movie, let's say like Christopher Nolan movies, or like they constantly, you know, like with IMAX scenes, you get 16 by 9, then it goes back to scope. It makes it a lot easier to just have one big 16 by 9 screen. I obviously could have fit a bigger screen if it were scope in this room, but to be honest, this is quite big enough. This is more than enough for me. Even sitting in the second row, the screen feels huge. It feels commercial big. It feels immersive on both rows. I set up this theater to have the second row as the main row for seating, but the first row is perfectly fine. I also designed this theater. Every seat in this theater is actually a good seat. When the architect was designing this house, he originally drew up this room to have the 3 rows of seats. And I told him that's not going to work, because I've actually had another theater in the past, and you need more than just 6-inch steps, because we were gonna have 3 rows of seats in the very beginning, and I cut it out. So the ceiling's 10 feet in the front, 9 feet in the back, because I have a 12-inch rise to the back row. And obviously I have 2 steps here. I got the architect to redesign the room to make it just 2 rows, because I had experienced having like a row that's too close to the screen. I did not want that. To me, it was more important to have a good experience for everybody. So I'm about 11 feet away on this row, so from the screen, and you sit and it looks great. I watched a whole movie yesterday. You can't even see any pixels. It's fantastic. Second row is like the prime seating in my opinion, but front row is really good at this theater. I got my 6050 UB up there, which is really great. I have a whole video about it. It's doing a fantastic job. I can't stress that enough. I'm completely happy with this projector. $2,500, and it's awesome. You don't need to spend $5,000 to $25,000 on a projector to have a really good experience. Perfectly bright in my 165-inch screen. Honestly, people look at it and they're like, I can't believe it's that bright. And it's the fact that it's a 1.3 gain screen. Going back to the screen, it's important to the fact that it's not acoustically transparent allowed it to be to help boost the brightness from the projector back there, and it really helped out in that regard. A little side note as far as like the projector quality, I just want to give my thoughts on like tone mapping offered in some of the projectors and how important it is. My projector, the 6050, has obviously, it can handle HDR10. For my purposes, it's perfectly fine. First of all, I'm not going to hate on people that buy the madVR or whatever. If you find those products valuable, all the more, and you have the disposable income to afford that, all the more power to you. I just don't understand why people are freaking out. They can't see some minor shadows in some clouds or something or, you know, there's a little more definition, you know, in clouds and like, you know, little tiny little minute details that you can barely notice. And when you're engrossed in a movie, to be honest, you don't give a about when you're watching the movie. And that's just the way I feel. You know, you may feel completely different and may think that it's totally justified in spending like over $10,000 on a device that just makes your image look a little better. I'm perfectly happy with the quality of my projector. It's incredibly bright, incredibly detailed. I have no issues with my black levels. I have seen demonstrations of the madVR. I've seen videos on them, and you know, it is pretty cool. And again, I might be a buyer of that kind of technology if it hit like a certain threshold, because it's sort of it's just like an additive experience. I don't think it's like an essential thing to have. Buying a quality projector, number one, anything above like an Epson 5050 UB, I think you're solid. If you want to buy something like a JVC or something that has like already some decent tone mapping within it, I think you absolutely have no reason to buy a madVR, in my opinion. But that's my thoughts on that, and that's why I don't have one of those madVR things. And again, I may be interested if they can bring down that price just a little bit. I mean, I see a lot of people comment whenever like other YouTubers post a video about that product, how people freak out that it's so expensive. And yeah, I mean, it's expensive. I'm not a buyer for it at that price. But if they ever get that price down to like, I'd say that key like $5,000, like I can see myself like sort of looking into it a little more at that kind of price. So as far as seating, I bought these are Seatcraft seats. I bought them on 4seating.com, and I think I paid about $600 or $700 per seat, which for automatic recliners, it's really not a bad deal. And they have, obviously these are automatic. You can select, you got buttons down here. You can actually turn on the light, and it even has, each one has a charging port. I've not used it once because I don't need to charge my phone while I'm watching a movie. I typically try to not even touch my phone while I watch movies. But each one of these are reclinable. I thought so that meant I had to put power behind the seats here, and obviously there was no good way to, and also put a power connector underneath the, like in the floor here, obviously, because that's the only place to put it. And I didn't want to have a cable running through the back of this thing. And one of the things I did in this room was there's ample room to walk around the seats and to get to your seat, obviously. There's room behind the seats, which is something that I lacked in my old theater. The fact that I have a good, maybe about 4 feet from the back surround back speakers, which is what I always wanted. You're not in my old theater. My rear seats were like about here, like really close to the back speakers. In this theater, I planned to have a little more separation, which is what you want to have in your theater. So these are the Seatcraft Sienna model. They have full leather or 7000 grade leather, which I'm not a leather expert. I'm not entirely sure what grade. It wasn't the most expensive grade of leather, let's just put it that way. It might even be the cheapest, but you can get these in vinyl, which are a little cheaper. And but I wanted to go with leather. I had vinyl in my old theater, and I wanted a slight upgrade. And I also wanted to maintain this theater. I wanted to keep it as dark as possible, so we painted the walls in a dark gray, which now my wife said that we wish we went a little darker because we put the panels up, and now there's like a very stark contrast. Maybe one day we'll actually paint the walls black, but that means taking off all the panels, and it's a huge pain in the ass, so we may never do it, but we'll see. I honestly don't know. So what's next? I'm not gonna go through every speaker. I'm gonna kind of glance over each speaker that I have. I have old videos from my old theater where I can talk about all the speakers in great length. If you wanna check them out, I'll put some links in the description. But I also, so obviously the theater is anchored by my Super Towers. These are fantastic speakers. These are, at this point, these are 3 generations old. So these are the 8080 STs, and now they're up to, I don't even know, they're called the Dimension series or something. So they're the newest, they're 3 generations old, and they still sound great. This is the same center that I had in the old theater. This is the 9080. So this is 2 generations old. Those are 3 generations old. This is like not the last generation, but the one before it, the 9080, 9080C or 90, I can't remember the name. I'll put it in the description of the video. These are in the old theater. These are my front wides, and they were used as heights. Here they're used as wides. I think a little more appropriate. They look better that way. I think they do a really good job. I had them pointed right at the listening position up back there, and yeah, so front wides there. So these are my surrounds. I have 6 of these in the room. These are the same ones basically the same ones that I had in the old theater. But I just like them so much, and they actually look the part, honestly. I always thought that these bipolar speakers just look like they belong in a theater room, and they sound great, and they don't like, they diffuse the sound a little more. It's not as direct, but I feel like they provide a better spread of sound throughout the seating area. And the fact that I have 2 of them, one for each row of seats, makes it even better. Again, same for the back surrounds back there. And I have 6 overhead speakers. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 on the other side. These are LCRs. I have a video where I talk about them briefly, and when I was still building the theater. These are like speakers that most people would just have as their front, left, center, and right behind the screen maybe, but they're being used as my in-ceiling speakers, and I think they're doing a really good job. I should probably say that yes, I'm still using my PB3000s. So I got 2 of them in the front. I'm also using the built-in subs in the towers as well. It's been great. Honestly, at the very beginning I was a little concerned that I wasn't getting enough bass, but I had not hooked up my SB2000s yet, which are back down there. And I got my SB2000s down there, and once I hook these up, boom! So I'm getting slamming bass. It just slams you. I want to address something. In the title of this video, I'm going to call this theater an 11.4.6 theater. Is that technically correct? Yes and no, because yes, I do have 11 bed layer channel speakers in this room. As you can see, I'm panning around. You can totally count. There's 11 speakers. My AVM70 processor can only process 9 bed layer channels. So how am I getting 11? So basically what I'm doing, I have split the pre-outs for my surround speakers, so they're technically getting the same signal. So this is what's making, so basically the signal that's coming out of the AVN70, I put them on a Y cable, and I am getting the same signal out of both surrounds. So this row of seats is getting the same exact signal as this row of seats. But eventually when there is another product that can process more than 15 channels, which I haven't heard anything about it other than Storm Audio and Trinov's that costs 20 grand or so. I'm not going to spend that much to have a couple of extra channels like processed, and it sounds great. I take my word on it. You would never know. It sounds incredible. It sounds like I have a massive surround speaker, to be honest. That's what it sounds like. So, and as far as subwoofers are going, yes, I have 1, 2, 3, and 1 over there, 4. So I have 4 subwoofers. Yes, my AVN70 only has 2 pre-outs for subwoofers that are independent. How am I getting 4? So I'm claiming 4. Yes, I am claiming 4 because I am independently setting, delays in these subs. So it's sort of, in a way, I am setting the phase, I'm time aligning the subs manually. Yes, there's technically only 2 pre-outs coming out of the AVN70, but I have 4 individual subs. In fact, if you count the towers, I have 6 subs, because these have 12-inch subs as well, over there and there. So, and they're also being used for bass as well. You can say that this theater is a 9.2.6 theater, but I'm going to stick with 11.4.6. This is just an IKEA, it's like an IKEA thing that we had in another room. We decided to repurpose for the theater, just to put stuff on it, remotes, have a little extra storage in it. Let's talk a little bit about the acoustic panels in this wall. Again, I based this entire design on, I got to give kudos where they're due to Anthony Gramani. I watched all the Audioholic podcasts numerous times, tried to soak up as much information that they had. They have a lot of knowledge in this regard, so I just decided to do what they would do, or what he would do in a theater, and I tried to recreate it as best as I can while keeping, keeping in mind the budget. Spent about $4,200 on panels alone in this room. That doesn't include installation, that's a little extra. I would never get it to look this good. We actually got a couple of guys that really helped me out, get them perfectly matched up so they actually look really cool. You may look at these panels when I pan around and show you that you may think that I overdid it. I put too much absorption in this room, and that's really not true. In order to get the amount of percentages of absorption and diffusion, I needed to put double the amount. Use 2 diffusers on top of each other and a little more absorption in the front. It may look like this is an absorber, but this is actually a diffuser. This is a 2D diffuser. These are the 242s, and the bass traps are actually the 244s, so these are about 4 inches deep, and the bass traps are about 5 1/4, but they're in the corner, and there's a nice gap between the corner and the bass trap, which is what you want. All of these JIK acoustics, well, at least the ones that I bought, they have about an inch gap between the insulation and the wall already built in. So it's already framed out with the gap. So it is better to have a little bit of a gap between the panel and the wall, but there is a built-in gap at these, which is it's nice. It actually does improve the performance to slightly lower frequency. We also have acoustic panels on the ceiling there. These are actually the same size as the bass traps, because I was thinking I'm only going to put 4 panels on the ceiling, and this is a big ceiling. This is 440 square feet of ceiling, 21 by 21, approximately 440 square feet. So I'm only doing like 32 square feet to compensate. So it's less than 10% of the square footage. So I decided if I'm going to only do those, I went with the thickest ones, and that gives you the most bang for the buck. Because on the side walls I was able to put a lot more acoustic paneling. And again, the front wall is essentially untreated, which is by design. These are bipolar speakers, and I didn't want to absorb the sound coming from the back speakers. I wanted to, utilize it. Obviously some of the sound is going to be absorbed by these bass traps here, but it's got a nice area for it to radiate sound into the room, which is by design. That's why I wanted it. These are GIK Acoustics Q7s. These are a little more, I think I'm not entirely sure if these are 2D or 3D. I'm gonna say I think they're 3D. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I originally was gonna put these guys over here, one there and one on the other side of the room, but my wife, we talked, and she didn't like the fact that it would be so close to the light switch, so I decided to put them there. But when I put them there, this speaker was basically shooting, it was just basically, like smack hitting this sidewall here of this panel. So I actually just bought some brackets and extended them out 4 inches. You can see there's like a bracket there. I still got to spackle up the holes back there, which is not a big deal. As you can see a hole back there. But I extended them out about 4 inches, and now I think they work well. So now the speakers are freely to move into the room without any just hitting the wall back here, which is not what I wanted. And this light switch is just to turn on the light in the closet there, so it's not such a big deal. It's a little more crucial to have easy access to those switches. So the carpeting, my wife actually helped me pick this one out. My wife went to the carpet store, found this one, and I think it's a great choice, and I really like it. It's nice and dark, but it has a little bit of gray to bring in the color from the wall, and it's a nice choice. It has a bit of a texture to it. If you touch it, it's not just like a flat carpet, and then it's great. It's nice and plush. I love it. It looks like it belongs in a theater like this one. I think it's a really good choice. We put in we have some lighting underneath the step. One day I might put on some smart switches back there to integrate it into the control 4 to maybe when you pause a movie, maybe it turns on the step lights, which would be kind of an interesting thing to do. Right now I just don't even leave them on because it shines too much light onto the screen, which is not what you want. This is the rack. Again, not the biggest closet on earth. Again, as you can see, it's about less than my arm's length to get to front of it. I do have like I have a little thermometer there. So starting from the top, I got my Zydew. I have an Apple TV and an NVIDIA Shield up there. You can't see that, so these are 3 video sources. Love the Zydew, that's my main movie source. So this is the home theater. I actually reviewed this. This is the 760H receiver that I reviewed on the channel. This is the home, I have this, this is it for the master bedroom. This is a Yamaha A2A receiver, 7-channel receiver. This is for the, and this is the external amplifier for the in-wall subs that I have in our family room. So this is sort of like just an overview, by the way. I'm not going to go into detail of everything in here. This is a my 830, TX RZ 830 Onkyo. This is a 9-channel receiver. This is for the I'm using this in my rec room with my 82-inch Samsung TV, and this is where all the magic happens for the video distribution. This is the Atlona. This is an Atlona video distribution unit, so you can take, I should make a whole video about this thing. This thing is incredible. This allows me to put any source that goes into it on any TV, any receiver that I want in the theater. So I can put up to 8 sources in it, 8 HDMI ins, and I can feed up to 10 TVs out. And you can either, let's say you want to watch a football game, I can literally put the football game on every TV on the house coming from the same cable box, which is pretty cool. That is a little out of whack. So let me, so going down, I got my Anthem AVM 70 down here, which is, this is for the theater, of course. And also I got my Emotiva amps. I got the 7-channel and the 10-channel down there. So that's feeding all 17 channels of amplification for this room. It is kind of tight in here, but it has been doing the job. Before I get to this one, there's actually an extraction fan up there. It's sort of like a bathroom fan, but it's actually sucking hot air out of this room. When I turn on a switch on my Control 4, I can turn it on, and at the very least, I'm venting some hot air out of here. So I can actually close these doors if I want to. I sometimes just leave them open, but they're meant to be closed, and it actually helps with the sound, keep the sound in the room a little more, just to have an extra barrier for sound. So we have to actually install this door upside down to get it to work. This is more of a network rack, but I do have other sources running on super long HDMI cables. As you can see, there's a couple there that I couldn't quite, we had to run them over the top here, but it was a huge pain, but we got it to work. That is the Control 4, like a processor, you could say. That's like the brains of the Control 4 system that runs the whole thing. It's up there, you can see Control 4. I got my Verizon router there that came with it. Tried using like a standalone router, but we decided just to use the Verizon one because everything worked just fine, and it was just less complexity, and it was okay. This is a cable box. I have an HD home run back there. You can't really see it, but it's there. It doesn't really need to be in the front. That is the Ubiquiti Wi-Fi client for our Wi-Fi throughout the house. This is an Xbox One. This is actually for the theater. Again, I love Xboxes because you can, it has a great Atmos upscaler, so you can basically take any source and turn it into Atmos or DTSX, which is, I think, I love it. This is my Panasonic Blu-ray player. I have a whole video about it. It's the UB420. This is my U9X Zydew, which is for the, this one's feeding into the Atlona, so I can play it from anywhere, including this theater. I have a couple more. I have another Apple TV back there and an NVIDIA Shield. This is just a power. I just wanted to have everything on a UPS. I actually had this one lying around, and decided just to put it in here and just use it, just to keep everything running. It's just in case there's a power failure. And I got a PS4 down here. I think this is just a network switch. This is a switch. This is another switch. This is an amplifier, like a matrix amplifier. It's an episode. It's a 12 channel amplifier, or 6 zones. So we have 6 rooms with that's on the Control 4, so I can play like Sirius XM on any of those rooms, which is kind of cool. And I think, oh yeah, and this is like a DVR for our security camera system that we have. Oh, and this is some kind of like a this is like a network power switch. It's called a watt box or something. So that's kind of cool. So those are the racks. You know, pretty complicated, and maybe one day I'll make a longer video where I talk about this a little more and how much of a pain it was to get wired up. So I've been talking a lot about like how the theater looks and how it performs, but I guess I haven't really touched on how I control the theater. And I use these Halo remotes from Control 4. We actually have 3 of them in the house, plus we have other touchpads as well. This is the non-touch Halo remote. This is the one I typically use in the theater. As you can see, it says theater on the screen. This is the touch one. We have this one in the rec room right now. As you can see, it's rec room. So I can take any of these and actually switch out the room. If I go to home here, and I can scroll down and change the room if I want to any room and control anything very similar. And I can also use like an iPad or any tablet, an Android tablet, or my phone even, to control the Control 4. As you can see, I can go in here and hit watch, and I can select the Zydu, the Shield, Apple TV, Blu-ray, Xbox One, cable, the Shield TV that's connected to the Alona, which is for the house, the Apple TV for the house, and an Xbox Series S. There's the house Zydu and a Sony PlayStation 4. Basically everything that's in the rack I can access from here in the theater. But yeah, overall, I think it's a great remote. They're quite pricey, so be prepared. I think this one's the non-touch is like $500. And the touch one's about $700 or so, $700 to $900, depending on your integrator, how much they charge you. I think we got these for $700 or so. It's very expensive remotes, but overall pretty good quality. I do like the touch ones, maybe a little more, but you kind of get used to using the buttons on the other ones. And sometimes I just go to the screen and I touch the screen, but overall, yeah, I would say if you can spring the extra $200 or so for the touch one, go with the touch. And I do like, and obviously these are examples of the 2 finishes you can get. This is the black finish, this is like the silver finish, and I kind of like the silver one a little more. And yeah, but yeah, those are my remotes. I want to briefly touch on like sound quality of this theater. I've had a bunch of people come listen to it. I mean, the last person that was here just said the movie looks and it sounds like it's like exactly how it's supposed to sound, or like however the director intended it to sound. This theater reproduces that, and that's exactly what I was going for. That was my goal. I just wanted this theater to represent exactly what the director, what the filmmakers wanted to represent in their movies. The screen is incredibly immersive. The picture I feel like it has really good quality with my projector screen. My projector provides really good image detail, in my opinion. Bang for the buck. You know the equipment that I have in here really can't be beat. You got to spend so much more to get more quality or higher quality than this. I think at this point, you know, I'm already at the crest of like diminishing returns. But once you go past where I'm at, you're at this particular level. It's just not. We're talking a lot more money you got to spend to get more performance than this room can provide. I wanted to like thread the needle and hit that point of diminishing returns, like right before it starts like flattening out that curve. This was what I wanted to do with this theater. This was my goal. I recently resubscribed to Apple Music because I wanted to try out Dolby Atmos or Spatial Audio. There's Spatial Audio particularly in this room. So I was like, I gotta try that, and I put on some tracks. I think I put on Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John. I played some jazz, maybe some Coltrane. I played some Girl from Ipanema like Stan Getz. I played even newer music. I played a bunch of different music. I gotta say, I was blown away. I think I'm converted. I had never really been into the multi-channel music thing. I'm a stereo purist, you could call me that, and I'm all about the 2-channel music. You know, the occasional up mixing, I'll use the Dolby Surround up mixer, and I'll sometimes, you know, turn it on. But I sort of always almost went back to stereo. I don't know. There's something magical when you have a set of 2 good speakers connected to, you know, a good amplifier. When they're set up just right, and you get that great phantom center, and you have great imaging. It's literally the best musical listening experience that I've ever had in my life. And the old theater was great, but this is just for listening to music, this is just insane. I get chills. I was getting chills when I was like listening to this, the songs in here. It was just enveloping. And my wife is not a movie buff. I am the movie buff in the family, you know, but she is not, you know, she is sort of not really into it that much, but even she could tell me that she appreciated how well this theater was with music.
Well, I'm going anyway.
Nice.
Setting time to target, 2 minutes, 15 seconds.
2:15, that's impossible.
Final attack point. Mavericks inbound.
Well, let me know if you have any questions about anything in my room. I'm hoping that this is like the first video of many more that are covered in this room and my new HQ. So I'm really excited. Anyway, it really helps the channel a lot if you can like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.